Hello, thanks for joining us. I'm Carla. This here is Jess. Today's practice is a backbend practice. If you are new to yoga, please, as always, listen to your body. Make sure that you're not forcing these back bends. They will strengthen your back muscles. And because we're working against gravity for these back bends, tomorrow you will feel your back muscles. So it's not that you've hurt your back, you've worked them in the same way that whenever you work a group of muscles, you will feel it the next day. So do take care though that you're maintaining that extension of the spine. We'll discuss it a little bit later, and the correct action of the tailbone. And as much as possible, take whatever supports you need. So have a little bit of general props that you would use in an Iyengar class. We're coming to the beginning of our practice. So sitting in Swastikasana, we're going to do the 3 arms, letting the thighs descend, the sides of the body lift up, the chest is well opened. Roll the shoulders back and down, and then bring the hands together in the prayer position. Keeping the chest lifted and the head upright, let the eyes gently close. With the eyes closed, you draw your focus inward. Be with your breath. Feel how the breath touches your body, how the breath affects the actions that are required to hold this pose, Swastikasana. Inhalation, lifting up the spine, extending and opening up the chest. With each exhalation, just settling the thighs down, keeping the shoulders released, the skin of the face relaxed. We'll do the 3 arms to begin the practice. Keeping your spine erect and the chest lifted. Drop your head down. With the head down, just stretch the back of the neck. Release across the top shoulder, so there's a spread across the upper shoulder, upper back region. Release the hands into your lap. And the next breath in, let your head lift up and your eyes open. Just a gentle twist to start warming up the back muscles. So turning to one side, using the hands just to get the back muscles, the abdominal region to wrap around the spine. Coming back to center and turning the other way. As you use the arms, don't slump into the spine. Use the arms to lift up. Use the exhalation to turn a little bit deeper, and then releasing, coming back to center. Change the cross of the legs now. So this cross of the legs might be a little bit awkward for you. If you need more height, take height to sit on so that you can get a lift of the spine. As you lift the spine, you're lifting the sides of the body. Find that openness across your chest. And again, we're coming to a twist. So generally you would turn to the right side first. So taking the right hand behind you, the left hand comes across to the right knee, and you're going to take a turn. The right hand behind you, use it as scaffolding to get a lift and extension of the spine. But as you do that, keep the thighs settled down. As you exhale, bring the shoulder blades into the body so that the chest is open. And with the left hand, you're pulling yourself around. And once you're around and the chest has turned completely, turn the back of the hand and see that openness of the bicep. Can you open that left side of the chest and deepen your twist a little bit more? Moving the right hand towards the left buttock gives you a deeper twist. And the last thing to turn is the head. Coming back to center. Just be in Swastikasana for a breath or two. Settle the sides of the body, lengthen the spine, and then we're going to turn to the left. You use the right hand first to pull you around to bring this right shoulder blade into the body and open that right side of the chest. As you exhale, you empty the abdomen, you wrap yourself around more, take that left hand towards the right buttock. Once you've turned that right palm out, turn that whole bicep. Can you open that chest more? When you take your head back, make sure that the neck and the throat are not strained, you're not clenching the jaw, and the shoulders are relaxed away from the ears. And then release, come back to center. Sit in Swastikasana, realign, find your breath. We're coming now to Virasana. Virasana, it is best to take a little bit of blanket to sit on. In Virasana, you are seated with your feet out to the sides and your buttocks in the middle, so you can turn facing the camera. And when you sit, there's a big extension on the front ankle. If you're unable to get that extension on the front ankle when you sit down, then instead of just having one blanket for softness and for the shin, you're going to have a whole pile of blankets and let your toes hang over. As it is the beginning of practice, you may not be able to sit flat, so don't try. You're going to sit on a blanket or on a brick for support. And as you sit down, keep that length of the inner line of the leg. Don't let the feet become at this point, just keep the legs out. And when you come down, you want to keep the center knee, the head of the shin facing down. So the outer thigh has to cut back. And from the inner groin, you extend to the inner knee and you sit with the head of the shin, the knee down. Just pay attention to your knees. If your knees are screaming, please take more height. If you have varicose veins, don't hold this pose for very long. The thighs are settling down. You lift the sides of the body. It's a very easy pose to keep that lift up of the chest. And we're coming now to Parvatasana. Parvatasana, nice to warm up the shoulders and open the armpits. So interlace the fingers right to the webbing. And then turn the palms to face out. Lock your elbows. Stretch your arms over your head. As you stretch the arms overhead, the shoulder blades do come up and into the body, but keep the skin of the shoulders and the shoulder blades down. And you want to lift and open up right from the sides of the trunk. When you're up, the lung is elongated and narrowed. So the breathing is a little bit harder, but breathe. Lock your elbows, extend up on an inhalation. On an exhalation, relax your hands back down. Notice any tension or tightness in the jaw and the neck and shoulder region. So even when you take your arms overhead, this area here compresses but doesn't tighten. So keep a softness in this top shoulder. Turn the palms to, so change the cross of the fingers, turn the palms, stretch the arms up overhead. Once again, opening the armpits, keep the abdomen back with each exhalation. Open the armpit by moving the upper arm back with each exhalation. Breathe. Lock the elbows, become long, opening the side ribs. Breathe. And when you're ready, on an exhalation, release the hands. Soften the shoulders. Relax here for a moment. And to come up, you come up onto all fours and just one at a time, extend each leg back just so that the blood can flow. You don't have to bounce it around. You don't have to shake it about. You just extend it so that blood can flow. And we're coming onto all fours. If you do need, so now you can turn sideways. If you do need a blanket for underneath your knees, keep a blanket for underneath your knees. Your hands are underneath your shoulders. Your knees are underneath the buttocks, the hips. So first you're in a neutral position where the abdomen is drawing back to the spine. There's nice length in both sides of the body. We're coming to Marjayasana and Bitilasana, which is the cat and the cow, sometimes also called happy cat and angry cat. So when you come to the cow pose, you don't want to just drop into the spine. You want to lift your breastbone and extend forward as you breathe in, and there will be a natural roundness in the back. On the exhalation, you're coming to the cat pose, you tuck in your chin, you bring the abdomen back to the spine, the whole back rounds like an angry cat. And then on the next inhalation, bring that breastbone through. Lengthen the front and the sides of the body. So warming up the spine here. Do a few more, flowing with your breath. And then we are going to, so you can keep going, but we're going to prepare for Natarajasana, which is a standing balance pose in this on all fours position, which is called Chaturangasana. So coming back to all fours, spine in a neutral position here. You're going to cross your right leg over the left calf and then reach back with your left hand and holding onto that right foot, you're going to kick the thigh and the knee away. You want to create a big open space. Find your balance. If this is hard on the knee, do take a blanket. When you've been there for a few breaths, you're going to release and come down. And then we are prepared to go to the other side. So the right leg crosses, left leg crosses over the right hand moves back and up you go. You want to kick into that leg. You want to push this foot away from the buttock and you're lifting that back, that knee as high as it will go. When you've been there for a few breaths, release, coming back onto all fours. If this challenged you a little bit, repeat this where you're crossing and doing opposites. If you want to challenge your balance a little bit more, you're going to do the same side. So balancing on your left hand and knee, you're going to take the right leg up. Let the hips open, let the chest open. If you cannot hold your foot like this, it's hard to do it with a strap, but just find that openness and that balance. And then when you've held it for a few breaths, release and come down. Be on all fours, stabilize yourself, steady yourself, abdomen back to the spine. And when you're ready, bend up the left leg, use the left hand and open up. You can open the hips, you can open the chest, just find. So if you do let go of the foot, be careful that you don't cramp your hamstring. Yeah. When you've held it for a few breaths, you can release. And then from all fours, we're going to come to Adho Mukha Virasana. Take your toes together, knees apart, stretch forward and just rest. Just a short rest. And then we're coming up to Tadasana. So in Tadasana, it is important in Tadasana that you already learn what's important for back bends. So we're going to, in the back bend position, you don't just scrunch into the back bend. Yes, there's a bend in the back, but you want to keep, so move your arms, you want to keep from the back waist, the flesh of the buttocks down, and from the center back groin, at the center back thigh, you have to broaden to the outer thigh so that you're not clenching or gripping the buttocks too hard and closing the sacrum. Yeah. So with that in mind, we're going to take the arms up, Urdhva Hastasana in Tadasana. And then keeping the buttock flesh down, you're going to come into a back bend by taking the middle buttock in, tailbone in, thighs are strong. Strong pose here. The breath is difficult. So breathe, breathe, breathe. Lift the shoulder blades, tailbone down. Hold it only as long as you can. And then when you feel ready, steady up on the legs, strong legs, come to the upright. Bring your hands down at your sides. And just take a few breaths here as you release from that back arch. So although it is a back bend, you want to try and find some length in the back waist by taking the flesh of the buttocks down. Now, Tadasana is a balance pose, so you're going to get close enough to the wall so that you can hold onto the wall for balance purposes. And for the first one, we're going to just bend up the leg. So standing on your left leg, bend up your right leg and take the right foot in towards the buttocks. And you want to not let this right knee swing forward. You want to keep the right knee back in line with the left knee, and you want to keep it in the midline. So this action of keeping the knee in the midline is very important. And from here, you're going to start kicking the heel away from the buttock, exactly as you did a little while ago. Keep that outer back knee in, outer knee in, and that back inner thigh, roll it up. You want to try and keep the hips level. So here, there's a deep back bend, but try to think about that space. So lengthen up, and then exhale, release, and take that leg down. We'll do the same two Tadasana variations to warm up on the other side. So feet in Tadasana, stand tall. You can use the wall to help you support. And first up, take the left leg, bend it, bring that foot into the buttock. As you move the knee back, you'll feel a stretch in this quadricep. You want to lengthen and lift and open this front groin region. Bring life to the abdomen, lengthen the front body. And then when you've been there for a bit, start to kick the foot away. So to stop that knee from splaying outward, that's very good. You want to cut that outer knee down and you want to lift the inner thigh up to the ceiling. Breathe here. You don't have to worry about balance, so you can steady up that standing leg. When you've held it for a few breaths, you'll release and come down. So in classic Natarajasana, the arms are over your head and it's one arm over the head, but we are going to do the same pose with two arms overhead. Okay? To help keep that knee hemmed in. So when you take the knee back and up, often it moves out to the side. So to help keep it hemmed in, you're going to place yourself right up against the wall so that first of all, I don't have to worry about balance. And second of all, when that leg goes up, the hips and the knees stay in alignment. Small little loop for your foot. We'll take the right leg up first. So you're going to stand with the right leg up against the wall. The strap, a small loop, is around your right foot, and then you're bringing it behind you. So stand in Tadasana to start off with. You're bringing it behind you and over your shoulders so you know where it is. Now with the arms up, you walk the hands down as close to your shoulder blades as you can get them. It's always a little bit treacherous with ponytails because I always end up like pulling my own hair. Here, feel the support of the wall. Here, get that openness in the armpits. Elbows are pointing up to the ceiling. Chest is well lifted. Already feel that length in the spine. Lift the abdominals. When you're ready, you're going to start walking down that strap. Bend up the leg. Feel that that knee is into the wall. Let it be there. And then kick the knee and the up and the foot away from your buttocks. Natarajasana, you're trying to get your hands to come to your foot and you're trying to hold the foot with your hand, with your right hand. And then on an exhalation, when you've been there for a few breaths and you've had enough, you come down in your own time. If it's a pose that you want to work on, absolutely practice it. You can also now, we'll repeat the same side. So keep the strap on the right foot, come away from the wall, and let's see how we do in terms of trying to balance in the pose. So keep your gaze at eye level, steady your gaze, don't stare at anything, just quieten the self. When you're ready, bring your hands down, lift the chest up, lift the leg up. Try to keep the hips squared off by kicking the inner right thigh back, keeping the hips level. Breathe. And in your own time, when you've explored the pose with your breath, you can release the strap and come back to Tadasana. Just catch your breath, and then we'll remove the strap. So we're going to do Natarajasana now with the strap around the left foot. And the first one will be done with the left leg right up against the wall. Once you've positioned yourself against the wall, bring the strap over that left shoulder so that you've got the access to the tail end. From Tadasana, take your arms up over your head, steady the gaze, lift the chest, find this openness in the armpits. You can already start walking the hands down. So again, just to show, you don't want to bring the elbows forward like you're carrying a heavy burden. You want to lift the elbows up, open the chest, and that lifting gives a lovely lift to the chest. When you're ready, kick back that left leg. Think about how the hips have to align, so that left inner thigh must roll up to the ceiling. Think about how you want length in the lumbar spine. So you want the abdomen to lift up a little bit more. Lift the chest, come a bit more to the upright, a bit more to standing. Breathe. The hands go towards the foot. Breathe. When you've held it for a few breaths, come down, have a rest so that you can prepare for one final one. You've caught your breath away from the wall. From Tadasana, are you cutting off circulation there? So bring the feet together in Tadasana, line them up, and then from Tadasana, open the armpits, get a grip on that strap, find that lovely extension of the spine, that openness of the chest. When you feel stable and steady, off you go. You kick the knee back by rolling the inner thigh back. Keep that knee in the midline. You keep the chest lifted. So you'll notice the knee maybe isn't jammed locked because you want to have a little bit of play for balance. When you're against the wall, you can absolutely stand tall on that leg without worrying. When you've held it for a few breaths, you'll slowly begin to release, come out of the pose. Unstrangle your foot. And we're going to come back to one last standing pose, Virabhadrasana 1. We're not going to hold Virabhadrasana 1 for very long. Virabhadrasana 1, Warrior 1, is a very strong pose, helps to develop strength for back bends, opens the armpits, develops thigh strength. So we're going to stand in the middle of the mat in Tadasana. And in Tadasana, come to an alert spine. So this Tadasana at the beginning of a pose is a call to action. You're relaxing the top shoulder. You're keeping the chest lifted. Knees are firmly gripped so that the thigh muscles are strong. And then fingertips to the chest. And on an inhalation, step or jump the feet apart. We're going to turn to the right. If you have space, keep your arms spread like this, like an airplane, for Vimasana. So turning the hips, turning the whole trunk, turn the feet. From Vimasana, turn and take the arms up to either shoulder distance apart. For now is spine. Classic position is hands together. As you exhale, when you bend that right knee, slide the right buttock to the divider of this knee. Let the buttock settle down. As you did in Natarajasana, lift the abdomen. You want to lengthen that back leg. Keep it strong and stable. Breathe. Look up if you're able to, if your neck allows it. Breathe. As you look up, descend a little bit deeper. Make sure you don't unbend. You need to go a little bit wider so that your shin bone and the shin bone's perpendicular to the floor. Breathe. When you're ready, you want to press into the heel, push that shin bone up and back to straighten the front leg. Turn to the center and you can rest your arms at your hips while you line up your feet. So lining up the feet to the front of the mat, we're going to go through Vimasana. From Utthita Hastasana, turn both feet to the left, back foot turns deeply. So make sure you've got enough distance so that that knee joint doesn't go beyond the ankle joint. Turning the whole upper arm, take the palms up to the ceiling, hands overhead. And as you exhale, stretch into the back leg, keep the back leg completely strong, tailbone moving into the body so that you're trying to maintain this length in the lumbar spine. Keep pressing into the heel. You're trying to release the toes by moving the shin back. So again, take a little bit more distance. Breathe. As you look up in the classic pose, the palms come together for Urdhva Namaskarasana. Breathe. And then with a strong back leg, that same action of the inner thigh rolling up and back. You want to straighten the front leg, turn the feet. And then from here, either step or jump the feet together, coming to Tadasana. In Tadasana, just take a few breaths here. Let there be softness in the neck and the shoulder region. We're coming now to Anjaneyasana. Anjaneyasana is a lunge. You can approach it either from the back or the front of your mat. So if you are a beginner, it actually is nicer to start from the front of the mat. So coming to the front of your mat, you can keep your feet hip distance apart. You're going to take Uttanasana, so coming forward, fingertips to the floor. Bend your knees if you need to. So come to Uttanasana, fingertips to the floor. So keep your feet hip distance apart. And we're coming forward into Uttanasana. With the fingertips on the floor, you're going to look back to where you're going, and you're going to step your right foot a big step back. As you step the right foot a big step back, extend that whole leg completely. Then take the right knee to the floor. Keep the hips low. Turn the right toes under so that that shin now becomes the foot of the pose. If you have any knee issues, you might want to take a blanket underneath there. And now again, we're coming to Anjaneyasana. There'll be that little bit of a back bend, so keep the flesh of the buttocks down, tailbone tipped in, lift up. As you lift up, you want to take your arms over your head. As you lift up, you want to keep the buttocks grounding down and lift the left hip bone off the left thigh. You don't want to lift the buttocks away from the floor. Again, shoulder blades are in, armpits are open. You can look up if it's within your ability to do so. On the next exhalation, settle the hands down on the floor, coming back to your lunge. And from this position, we're coming to Ekapada Raja Kapotasana. So turn so that you're sitting on that left buttock. So bring that foot. No. You're going to sit on the buttocks now. So you're turning that left foot sideways. Take the knee in between the two thumbs and the heel towards your right hip. Here, the left buttock needs to settle towards the floor. Again, now you've got that back bend action a little bit deeper than in Anjaneyasana. So keep moving the tailbone in. Keep lifting the abdomen off the thigh. If it's not possible for you to get your left buttock on the floor in this manner, you can lift up and sit on a little bit of height. From here, again, placing the hands next to the knee, you're going to turn the back foot under, lift into Adho Mukha Svanasana, and release in downward facing dog. If at any point you need to release in Adho Mukha Virasana, do so too. Now we're coming to Anjaneyasana. So you're going to walk your feet forward, come back to Uttanasana, come to the halfway lift, and stand to Tadasana. In Tadasana, have a few breaths. We're preparing to repeat that on the other side. So Uttanasana, step the right foot back, the left foot back into the lunge. So in this deep lunge, extend the left leg completely, take the left knee down, keeping the buttocks grounded, feeling that spine, being conscious of that length of the spine, lift the abdomen and up you come. Anjaneyasana, you want to settle the buttocks down, but you want to keep this right hip lifting off the thigh. The toes are not gripped, the heel is pressing into the floor, same as when you were in Virabhadrasana 1. Now exhale, release the hands down. We're going to take that right leg now into the Ekapada Raja Kapotasana position. So just bend it out to the sides. The knee is in between the two thumbs. That right heel moves back. So this is the beginner position where the left hip now has to descend to that right heel. The right buttock has to settle down. If it's not settling down, you might want to take some support, either a shoulder balance foam or a blanket to sit on so that the hips can be even. And you might be surprised how different the sides can be. From here, place your hands, turn the back toes under and lift off into Adho Mukha Svanasana. Downward facing dog to release, to stretch out the spine. Start to walk your feet forward, coming back to half Uttanasana. From half Uttanasana, firm up the legs, come to Tadasana. Just stand in Tadasana for a few moments. Feel the effects of those poses. Move the abdomen back to the spine. We're coming now to the Sphinx pose. So if you're on a hard floor, if you have a very thin mat, or just for comfort, you can take a blanket so that the blanket supports your trunk so that the pelvic region is supported on the blanket. In the Sphinx pose, you want to be forward of your blanket because we're coming onto the elbows. So be on the elbows, on the forearms. So you're going to come up and you're on the forearm, you're lifting your chest, lift your chest, and the elbow stacks underneath the shoulder. You want to grip into that forearm to lift the chest. Grip into the forearm, bring the shoulder blades in. And remember to keep breathing in back bends. So they're small, sharper, deeper, or not very deep, full breaths, small, sharper breaths, but you have to breathe. Feel that you're moving the flesh of the buttocks towards the heels and you're pinning the tailbone in. And even though the abdomen's on the floor, there's still this extension of the abdomen. Relax the shoulders away from the ears, lift the chest more. So this is Salamba Bhujangasana. Bhujangasana is the cobra pose. Salamba Bhujangasana is the sleeping cobra. And then release and rest. Bhujangasana, cobra pose. We're going to do it only halfway because in Bhujangasana, the pelvis is on the floor. So there's no mobility. So if your back is not warmed up, if you're not a strong back bender, only do it halfway. You're keeping the elbows bent. Don't flare the elbows so that the shoulders don't come up to the ears. Elbows stay tucked in and aiming towards the feet. Pressing into the palms. The hands are underneath the shoulders here. You lift your chest. As you lift your chest, keep the shoulders down. As you lift your chest, yes, there's this back bend, but can you keep a sense that you're drawing the buttocks down to the heels? Remembering that spread from the inner groin to the outer thigh. Remembering to breathe and breathe again, little breaths. Come down whenever you're ready and rest. So, Bhujangasana is the cobra. Because the pelvis is against the floor, it's a very sharp back bend if you just straighten your hands. We're coming to Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, which is upward facing dog. Urdhva Mukha Svanasana is a lovely pose because now you can straighten the arms. The pelvis is going to lift up, so you're only balancing on your palms and your tops of the feet. So inhale, as you exhale, you push the hands away. As you inhale, you lift up the chest. Keep the thighs moving down, keep the chest lifting up. And you want to slide the hips towards the palms, move the front shoulder back so you can see Jess has got a lovely perpendicular arm stretch. You can even bring the hips further forward. And when you've been there for a few breaths, use this as an opportunity to strengthen the upper arms for chaturanga. So with control, bend both elbows and come down if you can slowly, or you can put your knees on the floor as well to come down. Stay in Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Have a few breaths here. You can also do it with the hands on bricks. And the more you practice Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, the easier it's going to become. Just to show the difference for Bhujangasana, so because the pelvis is against the floor in Bhujangasana, if you have to try and straighten the arms, it's a very sharp back bend. So what you can do is take the hands a full hand step forward. Take the hands a full hand step forward, more even, right up, and then straighten up. So keeping the hands forward will also help to develop your back bend. Again, you're holding the pose, not the breath. When you've had enough, controlling the arms, controlling your descent, your release down. Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog, is a lovely pose to release after back bends. So stretching out the spine in Adho Mukha Svanasana, stretching out the sides of the body in Adho Mukha Svanasana. Really, really lovely releasing pose. And from here, to catch your breath, take the toes together, knees to the floor, knees wide, toes together, Adho Mukha Virasana. In Adho Mukha Virasana, because you're descending the buttocks down, there's a nice roundness in the back, a nice release for the back. You can also rest your elbows on the floor here so that the arms and the shoulders are having a little bit of a rest, a little bit of a break. We're coming now to Ustrasana. Ustrasana is the camel pose, and you can use a variety of props and supports for Ustrasana. For today, we're going to go into Ustrasana using the wall for support. Your pelvis is going to be facing the wall. You're going to have a blanket so that there's softness for the shins and the knees, and you're kneeling right up close against the wall. Again, if your ankles don't extend, then absolutely, take more height underneath the shins. From here, you're pressing the pelvis into the floor and you're going to lift up and take your shoulders back, keeping the shoulder blades into the body. You can keep your hands on the wall or you can keep your hands on the buttocks. Keep pressing the tailbone in to take the thighs to the wall. Keep breathing. And then when you feel ready, you come up, and as you exhale, you can sit down. Ustrasana is a pose that you want to repeat a few times. Very beneficial pose to develop your back bends. If you struggle to get the hands down to the feet, you're going to put a bolster over your shins. So coming on up again, the bolster is on the shins. It helps to press the foot of the pose down. It also elevates so that you can reach easier. Get that length in the spine. Keep the middle buttock moving towards the wall so that the thighs stay perpendicular. And then reach your hands back for the bolster. Here, let go of the head. There's a beautiful lift of the breastbone where you can balance a teacup here. Breathe. It's not easy to breathe, but breathe. When you've had enough, absolutely use the breath, press into those shins, come up. Once you're upright, sit down, have a rest here. Ustrasana is often done against the wall for support, but once you've learned to keep that lift of the front thigh and the tailbone in and keeping those thighs perpendicular, then you can come away from the wall and do it free. So coming away from the wall, you're going to take your blanket just in the middle of your mat. If you do need the bolster for your shins and to put your hands on, you're going to keep the bolster. If you do not need the bolster, yay or nay? If you do not need the bolster, you're going to reach for your feet. So now remembering the wall, you want to lift the thigh up. You want to keep that middle buttock in to keep the thigh perpendicular to the floor. Open up the chest, let the hands, try to take the hands back together at the same time. Keep the, you don't have to come forward so much. I think you're fighting very hard. That's enough. Keep that lift of the chest by bringing the shoulder blades in. Breathe. Move the buttock flesh down. Breathe. When you feel ready, pressing into the hands, up you come. Once you are up, you sit down. So there was once a whole great debate about, do you take the head up first or head up last? Do what feels comfortable for you, what feels right for your breath, what feels right for your neck. Okay, got one more in you. Once you've rested, up you come. Shins are the foot of the pose. Press down with the shins. Keep that lift of the thighs, that perpendicular action of the thighs. You don't have to push the hips forward, but move the hands back. Moving the hands back, pressing the hands either onto the feet or the bolster. Unfold yourself. Open yourself up. This is a very strong pose. Breathe. Hold only as long as you can. Keep breathing. When you've had enough, you press into the shins and the hands. You come up. And then you sit down. This pose often releases a lot of emotional stuff too. So a very strong, powerful pose, Ustrasana. Ustrasana also helps us to develop our Dhanurasana practice. So Dhanurasana, and also in preparation for the full Ekapada Rajakapotasana, we're going to show this exact same shape, but now your shins are going to be up the wall and your abdomen is going to be on your blanket. So position yourself with your shins up against the wall, abdomen is on the blanket. And now the shins are in position, the thighs they keep that perpendicular kind of action, that openness in the groins. The hands come to cobra position, Bhujangasana, and exactly what you did when you were doing those lying down back bends. You're going to press into the hands, lift the chest. You don't have to straighten the arms. You want to imagine you taking the head to the feet. So don't bring your feet to your head here. You can, but you could cramp in your hamstring. But if you had a friend help you to bring your feet towards your head, then that would be very useful. But if you do it for yourself, it does end up cramping your hamstring. Try not to hang into the shoulders, lift the chest, breathe, and then release, exhale, and come down. So in back bends, it's so easy to hold the breath when you're holding the pose. You absolutely have to breathe. You'll give yourself a back bend headache if you don't. Once you've had a rest, try one more. Push yourself up. Imagine yourself curling back, taking the head to the feet. Think about the feet coming to the head. Breathe. There's an openness and narrowness in the lungs here, but breathe and then release and come down. Rest. To come out of it, you're either going to just roll onto one side or you're going to have to push yourself up awkwardly out of it. Right. So that pose is practice for Dhanurasana. In Dhanurasana, again, you're taking a blanket on your mat so that you've got that softness for your pelvis and your bottom ribs. So lying on your blanket, you've already prepared for Dhanurasana with these back bends and also with the Natarajasanas that we did a moment ago at the beginning of class. So here, once more, maintaining that length of the spine, the action of the buttocks and the back thigh. You're going to bend up the legs and you're going to hold onto the outer ankle. For some people, that's not easy to do. And if that is the case for you, you create a small loop, you place it around the front ankle, and then your hands can hold these two little handles, and that will give you something to grip on. Otherwise, you're holding onto your feet, holding on to the outer ankles, the thumb goes with the fingers. Now, when you're ready, you're going to lift your chest in the same manner that you did in the back bends, however, you don't have the hand support, and you're going to kick the feet into the hand as you did in Natarajasana. Breathe. Lift the knees, lift the chest, breathe. Try to find a balance between, am I lifting my thighs? Am I coming more onto my abdomen? Can I lift my thighs as much as I lift my chest? And then exhale, release, and settle down. You can release the legs if you want to. If you're lazy like me, you end up holding on to the legs because it's just easier. Once you've had a rest, try one more. Be conscious of the breath. Don't hold the breath. Be conscious of what the spine is doing. Yes, there's a bend, but there's also that extension. So if you're like Jess and your chest opens easily, sometimes placing a bolster under the thighs helps to lift the knees so that you can balance out the pose a bit more. If your knees lift and not your chest, you can put that bolster under the diaphragm. Come down, have a rest. In Natarajasana, we had the loop around the foot. We took the arms overhead. Now we're going to take a loop over both feet. So just to clarify, in the classic Natarajasana, when you're holding the foot over your head, the one arm is in front. Okay, we do it with two arms because it's just easier to hold the strap. And in Dhanurasana, it's two hands. So if you cannot hold your feet, you're going to bend up your legs. There's a strap tying your feet together. And then you're going to take your arms, so lie on your tummy, let your head come down. Take your arms over your head like you did for Natarajasana. Start to walk the hands down. And then when you're ready, kick the feet up and back and lift your chest. So here you want to lift the thighs. You want to lift the chest. The armpits are open. Breathe. Don't hold the breath. Breathe. Extend the back. Breathe. Tailbone in. And when you've had enough, you come down. You absolutely come down. Strong pose this. So once you are down, have a rest here in this prone kind of Shavasana space. Then you're going to turn your toes under and come to Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, you can get that lovely extension of the spine, that release of the back, that extension of the sides of the body. From Adho Mukha Svanasana, you're going to put your knees on the floor, take the toes together, knees apart, and we're coming to Adho Mukha Virasana. Again, Adho Mukha Virasana, because the buttocks are releasing down, there's that length and openness in the back waist that we've been bending so much. We're coming to the end of the practice, so you can let your elbows rest on the floor so that the shoulders are relaxed. There's a quietness in the neck and the throat region. To release the back a little bit more, you're going to turn over onto your back. Have a strap with you. You're taking the strap around the heels. The legs are coming up to the sky at a 90-degree to the body. So the legs are perpendicular to the floor so that the weight of the legs is shifting into the lower back, into that upper buttock region. You get a bit of a release. The strap is around the heel plate so that there's a drawing down from the heels. You can even get somebody to press your eyes. It's nice to release the back. If you hold the strap, if you're going to be holding it for long, you can curl your hand around the strap so that you're not gripping your fingers so tightly, and then see that there's space for the collarbones to spread and the chest to be relaxed. So for some people, this hip distance is sufficient. Feel what your back and your sacrum feels like. And then if this isn't sufficient for you, if it's not enough release, you can play around. You can take your feet together, feel what that feels like. You can take the feet as wide as your mat, feel what that feels like. And then find that happy medium where whichever distance the feet are, there's a release in the pelvis, a release in the abdomen, there's a settling in the back waist, a release after these back bends. Urdhva Prasarita Padasana with a strap. Keeping the softness in the neck. If you need a blanket for the head, of course, take it. So once you found your comfort distance, spend a few moments here. Once you've done back bends, it's a good idea to release the back in these kind of passive movements. It's a good idea to do some gentle forward bends, some gentle twisting, just to have everything released before your Shavasana. Right, so you're going to bring the feet together, bend the knees, roll onto your side to come up. A really nice back bend release is to do the same thing you just did now, lying on your back, but instead of having the legs up to the sky, you're going to have your feet on the wall. So it's as if you were sitting in a dining room chair and you toppled over. So make sure that the thigh is perpendicular to the floor. The shins are parallel to the floor. There's a 90-degree angle. And the abdomen, if you see her abdomen is releasing down, there's a quietness, a softness here. And then without pushing yourself into the middle of the room, if you just put pressure on the feet a little bit, the abdomen will empty out, the back will round, and there'll be more pressure on the lower back. This is a lovely release even if you haven't done back bends. So if you've just had a crazy day at the office and your back is really tight and you want to spend some time here, place a blanket to support the head and the neck. You can turn the palms to face up to the ceiling so that the chest opens more. There's more release and openness. And then just chill here for a few moments. Every now and then, you pressurize the feet against the wall. You get that release of the lumbar spine against the floor. To come out of it, so you can spend as much time as you want or need here to release your back. But when you're ready to come out of it, bring your knees to your chest, cross your shins, and then holding one foot in each hand, just rock from side to side. So now you're massaging the back also. And then change the cross of the ankles and rock from side to side the other way. Okay, you're going to roll onto your side to come up. We're preparing now for Salamba Sarvangasana. Salamba Sarvangasana is the shoulder balance. If you're not doing shoulder balance, then you can do legs up the wall. So it's the same Urdhva Prasarita that we did a moment ago to release the back. What you do is you want to get your butt right up against the wall. Your feet are out of the way. Don't roll with your shoulder here because you're going to land up very far from the wall. Be close enough to the wall. Get your shoulder down so that when you roll, your buttocks are on the wall. Then you straighten and align yourself up and make sure you've got no hair impediments. You're just going to lie in this position with the legs up the wall. If, however, you are doing shoulder balance, in shoulder balance, we do want to have some supports. In an Iyengar yoga practice, we always use a little bit of height so that the back of the neck has space and freedom. You'll take 4 shoulder balance foams. They're just regular A4 foams, just to give you a little bit of height. If you don't have those, you can take a stack of blankets, some nice sturdy firm blankets. You'll have support for your head, just some nice softness. So a thin blanket doesn't have to be a great big fold of blanket, otherwise you lose your ledge. And then you're going to measure your strap from outer shoulder to outer shoulder, so that when you put it on behind you, the arms will fit neatly at your sides. When you're ready to come into it, you're going to hold the strap in your hand, or you can wrap it around your upper arm, your forearm. Lie down so that your head is on the blanket, but your shoulders are on the support, and you want a little bit of space so that this top shoulder rolls onto that support. So your earlobes are in line with the edge of the support, back of the neck is long. If you can take your feet to the floor in Halasana, you do. If you're unable to, you bring your feet to a wall, or you place a bench or a chair where I am, and then your feet there. Otherwise, if you have the flexibility, feet come to the floor. You can keep the feet hip distance apart. With the feet gripped into the floor, you lift the outer hips, get length in the sides of the body. Place your strap onto just above the elbow. And with the strap on, cut the outer upper arm in. And once your hands are supporting your back, up you come. So Salamba Sarvangasana, this pose, shoulder balance, is the pose, the inversion that as a beginner you're going to learn first. If you're not a beginner and you have an established practice, absolutely hold this pose however long you like, hold Halasana however long you like, do whichever variations you feel comfortable doing. If you're new to the practice of shoulder balance, you might not have this lovely straight line that Jess has here. In shoulder balance as a beginner, generally the buttocks are going back and the feet are coming forward, and you're in this sort of folded position. You want to work on lifting the front thigh up, moving the middle buttock in, taking the front thigh back. And the more you walk your hands down the back, the more you can bring this chest to the chin in this Jalandhara Bandha shape. Keep moving the thighs back. Keep reaching the front thigh up, so you're opening the front groin. In shoulder balance, from the shoulders through the hips, the knee to the ankle, there's an absolutely straight line. To get this, you have to roll onto the top shoulder. You have to bring the pelvic girdle over the shoulder girdle. And to do that, you have to maintain a softness in the neck and the throat. So feel that the back of the neck is long, shoulder balance stretches the neck. Feel that the throat is soft. Your gaze is towards the solar plexus region, the heart center. And when you get tired, you come back to your base. Get those upper outer arms in, adjust the hands, reach up the legs, recharge. When the pose feels heavy, that no amount of re-engaging is going to make it feel light and balanced, then you know it's time to come down. If you're happy to stay in it, you stay in it. Shoulder balance is the pose that's going to develop your endurance in inversions. If you are comfortable in the pose, you can extend your stay in the pose by doing variations. Otherwise, when you're ready, when you feel it's time, again, it's a personal practice. Listen to your body. And either one leg at a time or 2 legs, you bring the legs back to Halasana or whatever support you have. When you take the strap off, take it and set it aside so you don't roll onto the metal bit. And then slowly protecting your back, unroll. Don't lift up, you want to stay with your head down. But once you've unrolled, you want to scoot off your support to get your shoulders on the floor and the head on the support. If you don't have space to move, you can also keep your head and shoulders on the same level, but don't have the shoulders elevated and the head down. Here with the head up, Shoulders are relaxed, neck's quiet. Oh, you look very relaxed. Once you've taken some time just to feel what your body's feeling in this pose, to kind of bring yourself back to the present. When you feel ready, then you can roll onto your side to come up. We're finishing off with a gentle supported twist. So Bharadvajasana is a really lovely twist when you use a bolster for support. In the classic Bharadvajasana, it's usually done as a seated pose. And when you're seated, you have to work on getting the hips to become level so that you don't end up twisting on a skew spine. So when you take the feet across, the hips are uneven and you want to level off the hips. When you come to lying down, however, you are going to lift the hips up anyway. You're going to turn to the right side first. So I'll show very quickly. The bolster will stick out of your right hip. You're going to use your hands like the push-up. You're going to let that hip come, turn, empty out the abdomen, and then you're going to lie. If possible, facing your head the other way. If not, you can rest your hands on your head. So you're going to twist to the right side first. Take your feet to the left. The left foot cradles in the arch of the right foot. The bolster sticks out of your right hip. And then as you twist to the bolster, let the left hip lift up. Turn your body, turn your head if it's possible, and then resting on the bolster in this supported passive twist. Here in this twist, the muscles of the back are getting elongated. There's a lovely release of the spine. Each exhalation, kind of settle into this twist. You just want to take a few breaths here. Pushing into your hands, you're going to come up, and then you're going to move, extend the legs in Dandasana, move the bolster the other way. When you swing the legs over to the right side, you're going to cradle that right foot into the left arch. Now, using your hands to support you, you're going to turn, empty out the abdomen, turn to face the bolster so that right side of the body has to settle down. If your head doesn't turn all the way, remember you can just place the hands, cross them on top of the bolster to support your head. Be quiet here. Let the support of the bolster just do the work for you. Feel those back muscles stretching and releasing. Spinal column just getting a gentle twist. Right. When you've been there for a number of breaths, pressing into the hands, lift up. Extend the legs in Dandasana once more. We're going to come to one final releasing pose, Paschimottanasana. Paschimottanasana is the forward bend. Because it's a release after back bends, you want to take substantial height. So take either 2 shoulder balance foams or a number of folded blankets. So you're going to sit on those foams. And because it's a really massive height, you'll probably find that the thighs are floating up off the floor. So you don't want the thigh to be floating. You're going to take a folded blanket. Just make sure I've got it nice and evenly folded. And you're going to place it underneath the thighs. So when you press the thighs down, can you feel the blanket? You want to have that sensation that the back of the thigh is touching something. It is a restorative pose. So the feet are hip distance apart. You're going to have, if you're able to, you're going to have a bolster. You're going to extend forward, fold your arms over the bolster. You can move the bolster forward towards your shins. Let the forehead rest on the bolster. If that is an impossibility for you, then all you do is simply take the bolster on its tall side, bring it a little bit closer to you, and come to a more halfway position. If that's also impossible for you, then take a chair so that you've got the chair over and you're resting, the chair over your legs and you're resting on the seat of the chair. Decide how deeply you want to take this Paschimottanasana. You're not here to find a forceful, strong, full, intense forward bend. This is opposed to not just release the back, to quieten the breath, but also this resting of the forehead on the bolster helps to quieten the brain after, back bends are quite invigorating. Once you've been in this quiet, restorative Paschimottanasana for a few breaths, you're holding on to this quietness for your Shavasana practice. There's a few ways you can release in Shavasana after back bends. So up you get. You're going to have a blanket, so keep only the supports that you need for your Shavasana, and whatever you don't need you can set aside so that nothing is touching you or going to bother you. You're going to have a folded blanket for your head. In Shavasana after back bends, it's lovely to have the feet elevated on the seat of the chair, but also if you take a bolster just behind the knees, it does give a softness to the back. There's a little bit more of a release on the back. So when you come down into your Shavasana, get a sense that from the back body, the flesh of the shoulder blades, the flesh of the buttocks, all is releasing towards the heels. The bolster is directly behind the center knee. It shouldn't be too much on the thigh, too much on the shins. Let the feet and the knees just flop out to the side. Here, the chest is nice and free. You turn the arms to face, the palms to face up to the ceiling so that that bicep rolls out and there's an openness across the collarbones. Make sure that the back of the neck is long. Feel that from the hairline down to the eyebrows, down to the eyelashes, down to the jawline, the skin just releases. Any tension in those muscles release. Use the exhalation to quietly release any tension in the neck and the shoulders. As you release the shoulders, release right to the fingertips. As you release this from the shoulders, exhale and let that whole torso rest and relax, abdomen passive. The next exhalation, let go of any tension from the hips to the toes. With each exhalation, just sinking into this Shavasana state. You want to be in this quiet Shavasana state for as long as possible. So if you have time, you can stay. To come out of Shavasana, you want to come out of it slowly, almost reluctantly. So don't move your body first, just let the breath deepen. Each inhalation is bringing that vital pranic energy to the body, through the lungs, to every cell of the body. As each breath becomes deeper, you start to sort of lift to full consciousness. When you feel ready, you feel that the eyes are ready to open. Bring your hands anywhere on your torso. Just connect with your breath once more. On the next breath in, you're going to stretch your arms over your head. Give your body a long, deep stretch. You can exhale as you yawn or sigh the breath out. Then bending your knees, just kick your bolster away. Roll onto your right side. Your head cradles in your right arm. The left side of the body just holds you in this quiet Shavasana state for a little while longer. When you come up lazily, almost reluctantly. Bring the head up last. So pushing into the left hand, the shoulders come up. Once your head is up, just come to a comfortable seated position. Lift up your spine and your chest. Close your eyes again and bring your hands together in the prayer position. Take a few moments here just to check in with your body. Check in with your breath. Each inhalation taken in with a sense of gratitude. And take time to feel thanks for the health and strength of your body. When you feel ready, let the eyes gently flutter open and focus. Namaste. Thank you, Jess. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. See you next time.